So what we're going to do is we're going to simplify these fractions here. And so if you're stuck on what the greatest common factor is, we know that we could start by dividing by 2 because they're both even. When we do that, 12 divided by 2 is 6. 60 divided by 2 is 30. And you notice that these are both even numbers. So we can go ahead and keep dividing by 2. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 30 divided by 2 is 15. And we are so close to being done here, we know that we can divide the top and bottom by 3 to end it. So this simplifies all the way down to 1/5. What about 14 over 32? So what we can do is we can divide the top and bottom by 2 because we know they're both even numbers. That gives us 7 over 16. And we know that that is already simplified. Now we're going to go ahead for number 3 and 4. We're going to convert these mixed numbers into improper fractions. So what we do, I'm going to write it real big so we can see it. What we do is we do 3 times 8, and then we go ahead and add, and then we go ahead and add 5. So when this does, we do 8 times 3 is 24, plus 5 equals 29, and then we keep our denominator the same. Let's go and try it for 2 and 2/7. So we do 7 times 2 plus 2. So when we do that, that's going to equal 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 is 16, and we keep our denominator the same. So now in problems number 5 and 6, it says we need to write the improper fraction into a mixed number. So when we do this, we can set up long division to help us out. So we can say that 3 goes into 14 4 times, and we bring our 12 down, and we know that there is a remainder of 2. So what we do is 4 is going to be our whole number, and now we have to deal with our fraction. So our fraction, our denominator here stays the same as 3, and then we use the remainder as our numerator. So 14 over 3 is equivalent or the same as 4 2/3. Let's go ahead and try 21 over 4. So let's do some long division. 4 goes into 21 5 times, and we know that there is one remainder. And so here we're going to take our 5 is our whole number. We keep our denominator, which is 4, which is the same. And our remainder is our numerator. So for 21 over 4, that is equivalent to 5 1/4. So now we're going to use less than, greater than, or equal to compare these fractions here. So for number 7, we notice that our denominators are the same. So if your denominator is the same, let's go ahead and compare our numerators. So which one is bigger, 2 or 5? We know that 5 is bigger, so we're going to use the less than symbol to say that 2/7 is less than 5/7. So here's number 8. So number 8, you can do a couple different things. You can use the butterfly method, or you can come up with common denominators. I like the butterfly method. It goes by pretty quick, as long as you know your math facts. So 8 times 3 is 24, and 6 times 4 is 24. And so we know that 24 is equal to 24. And for number 9, let's go ahead and use the butterfly method. So 3 times 3 is 9. 12 times 2 is 24. So we could say that 24 is greater than 9, or we can say that 2/3 is greater than 3/12. So now for numbers 10 and 11, we're going to go ahead and order these from least to greatest. So first step is we find common denominators. So our common denominator for number 10 is 8. So let's go ahead and rewrite all of our fractions with a denominator as 8. So 7/8, we'll still say 7/8. 1/4, we multiply 4 times 2. So whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top. So 1/4 is equal to 2/8. And then 3/4, we multiply the top and the bottom by 2 to give us 6/8. And our directions say least to greatest. So let's go ahead and order these using the original format that they came in. So we notice that 2/8 is the smallest, so we're going to write 1/4. We know that 6/8 is next. That is equivalent to 3/4. And last but not least, our biggest number is 7/8, and we're going to keep that as 7/8. So we just ordered these fractions from least to greatest. Let's try number 11. Number 11, our common denominator would be 12. So let's go ahead and rewrite all these fractions with a common denominator of 12. So 1/2 is 6/12. 9/12 is still 9/12. And 1/3, we multiply the top and bottom by 4, gives us 4/12. And so we're still using least to greatest for this one. So we'll start with 4/12 is our smallest because we're comparing the numerators now. So we rewrite that as 1/3. And our next up is 6/12. So let's write that as 1/2. And last but not least is 9/12, and we're going to write that as 9/12. So for number 12, our directions say greatest to least. So first step is we find common denominators here. So our common denominator is 20. So let's go ahead and rewrite all of our fractions with a common denominator of 20. So 8/10 is 16/20. 1/5 times 4 times 4 gives us 4/20. So our job is greatest to least. So we find the biggest numerator, which is 16/20. And we're going to rewrite that using the original format of 8/10. Next up is 7/20. And that's written as 7/20. And last but not least is 4/20. That's written as 1/5. So we just ordered our fractions from greatest to least using common denominators. For 13 and 14, we're going to add these fractions. So before we add, let's check to make sure that number 13 has a common denominator, which it does. And so if it has common denominators, the only thing we have to do is add our numerators together. So 3 plus 1 is 4, and we keep our denominator the same. So 3/5 plus 1/5 equals 4/5. So for number 14, we have to find common denominators first. So our common denominator is 6. So 2/3 equals 4/6. And now all we do is we add our whole numbers together. 1 plus 0 is 1. Let's go ahead and add our numerators together. So 4 plus 4 is 8, and we keep our denominator. So we're not done. Now we got to simplify this. So when we simplify, we get 2 and 2/6, which is equal to 2 1/3. How we got 2 is we notice that 8/6 is an improper fraction. So we got to make that into a mixed number. So this is part, if you're stuck on this, here's what it looks like. So we got 1 is our whole number. And then 8/6 is equal to 1 and 2/6. And we just added those together to get 2 and 2/6 is how we simplify that. Let's try number 15. So we need to come up with common denominators here. So our common denominator is 12. So let's rewrite both fractions with a denominator as 12. We also have to change our numerators now. So So we have 3/12 plus 2 and 8/12. Let's go ahead and add our whole numbers. 0 plus 2 is 2. We add our numerators together. So we got that as 11, and we keep our denominator the same, is 12. So for number 16, we already have common denominators. We notice that our operation is subtraction. So all we do now is we subtract our numerators. So 7 minus 3 is 4. Keep our denominator the same. And then we have to simplify. So we go ahead and divide the top and bottom by 4. That's going to equal 1/2. So next we're going to do number 17 and 18. So we notice that these are subtraction problems. So let's go ahead and find common denominators for number 17. So our common denominator is 9. So 2/9 is equal to 2/9. 2/3, we know that we can multiply the top and bottom by 3 to give us 6/9. So what we're going to do now is we need to subtract our fractions first. So 2 minus 6, we realize we cannot do that. So we borrow from the whole. So 1 becomes a 0. And we take our denominator and we add it to the numerator. So we have 11/9 minus 6/9. And that's going to equal 5/9. So another way we can solve this after we find common denominators. So this is the way borrowing from the whole method, for that step. If we get stuck on borrowing from the whole, you can change 1 2/9 into an improper fraction. So when we do that, it would be 11/9 minus 6/9. That would equal 5/9. So there's two different ways to solve this problem. So let's try number 18. Number 18, so our common denominator is 15. So whatever we do to the bottom, we do to the top to find our numerator. So you can see the steps on the screen of what I'm doing. So I'm going to show you both ways on how to do this. First way is borrowing from the whole. So what we do is let's borrow a whole from our 2, be a 1. We take our denominator, which is 15, and add it to the numerator. So we have 1 and 20/15 minus 1 and 9/15. We know when we subtract these, 1 minus 1 is 0. 20 minus 9 is 11. So we have 11/15. So this is our borrowing from the whole method. But if you're stuck, you can come up with improper fractions. You have to make both of these mixed numbers improper. So when we do that, let's go ahead and rewrite it so we can list out our improper fractions here. So we know we can do 15 times 2 plus 5. That will give us 35 over 15 minus, and then 15 times 1 is 15, plus 4 is 24 over 15. And if we subtract these, 35 minus 24, that comes out to 11 over 15. And so here we have two different strategies we can use. We can do borrowing from the whole, which is our first method, or we could just make them improper and subtract them, which is our second method. All right, here we have questions 19, 20, and 21. So to multiply fractions, for number 19, all we do is multiply our numerators, which equals 2. We multiply our denominators, 2 times 3 is 6. And then we simplify that by dividing by 2 to equal 1/3. Another way to solve this is we could cross simplify. So what we do is we say, can I simplify 1 and 3? Those are already simplified, so we rewrite those. And then 2 and 2, we can divide those by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and then we can multiply across. So just another strategy to be able to multiply fractions. So number 19 is 1/3. For number 20, we have two mixed numbers. Let's go ahead and make these improper first. So 4 times 2 plus 2 gives us 10/4 times 11/8. And to do this one, let's cross simplify first to make it easy for ourselves. 4 and 11 can't simplify, but if we divide 10 by 2 and 8 by 2, we're simplifying ahead of time. So that gives us 55 over 16. And we can do some long division. 16, it goes into 55 3 times. You can see the steps that's happening on the screen with the remainder 7. So our answer for number 20 is 3 7/16. So number 21, we need to make 8 into an improper fraction, which is 8 over 1 times 1 over 4. Let's go ahead and simplify first, make it easy for ourselves. So 1 and 1 already simplified. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. So you should get the improper fraction of 2 over 1, which when we simplify it is equal to 2. All right, let's try 22, 23, and 24. So here we have 1 2/5 times 5/6. Let's go ahead and make our improper fractions here. So we have 7/5 times 5 over 6. Let's go ahead and cross simplify if we can. We know that 5's divide out, so those are 1 and 1. 7 and 6 we cannot simplify. So we have 7/6, which when we create that in mixed numbers, 1 and 1/6. Number 23, let's go ahead and create our improper fractions here. So 9 times 7 is 63, plus 7 is 70 over 9, times 10 times 10 is 100, times 8 is 108 over 10. Let's cross simplify this to make our numbers easier. So we know 70 and 10 we can divide by 10 since it both end in 0. So they simplify to 7 and 1. And we could simplify 9 and 108 by 9. So we have 1 and 12. And then when we go to multiply 12 times 7, we can go, we multiply these, comes out to 84 over 1, which is equal to 84. So number 24, we have 4 9ths times 3 over 1. Let's go ahead and cross simplify to make it easier on yourself. So 9 divided by 3 is 3, 3 divided by 3 is 1, and 1 and 4 already simplified, so it gives us 4/3. Make that into a mixed numbers, 1 and 1/3. So now let's go ahead and divide our fractions here. So for number 25, the steps for division, we keep our first fraction, so we write that down. We flip our second fraction, 6/8, to 8/6, and then we change our sign to multiplication. And just like in multiplying, we could cross simplify to start. So we have 1 and 3, 8 and 5. So then we multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators to 8/15. So number 26, we got to make 3 an improper fraction before we do anything. Now we keep our first fraction, we flip our second fraction, and then we multiply. So we know that we can't cross simplify anything. So let's go to multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators to get 4/27. So now number 27, let's make our mixed numbers improper first. So 1 and 3/4 is 7/4 divided by 3/8. And then we keep our first fraction, we flip our second fraction, and then we flip our sign to multiplication. Let's go ahead and divide. We're cross simplifying now, I'm sorry. So when we cross simplify, we can divide 4 from 8 and 4. You just see the steps on the screen. If you need to pause it at any time, pause it. So you should get 14/3 as an improper fraction. And then we can go ahead and do a little bit of long division. If you're stuck, 3 goes into 14 4 times with a remainder of 2. So here, this improper fraction will become 4 2/3 as a mixed number. Now we have 28, 29, and 30. So for 28, we have 3/1 divided by 4/9. Now we keep our first fraction. We flip our second fraction, and then we multiply. So let's go ahead and multiply across because we cannot cross simplify. So we have 27/4. So 4 goes into 27 6 times with a remainder of 3. So our mixed number is 6 3/4. 29, let's make them improper first. So we have 14/5 divided by 12/10. And then we keep our first fraction. We flip our second fraction, and then we multiply. So let's go ahead and cross simplify now. Make it easy on yourself. So you can see what I'm doing here. So I've divided 5 and 10 by 5 and 14 and 12 by 2. So now I got 14/6. So 6 goes into 14 2 times with a remainder of 2. So I have 2 2/6. We simplify that one more time to 2 1/3. So here we go, we got number 30. We make them improper fractions first. So we have 9/4 divided by 11/8. And then we keep the first fraction. We flip the second fraction, and then we multiply. I'm going to simplify ahead of time by dividing by 4. So now when we go multiply our numerators, multiply our denominators is 18/11. So 11 goes to 18 one time with a remainder of 7. So number 30 is 1 7/11. So now we have 31 in here. So all we have to do is we have to identify what two fractions and the operation is happening. So we know that this is a division word problem. So our first fraction in the red and the dividend is 2. And it's being divided by 2/3. And that gives us an answer. Remember, all we do is just group our 2/3 parts. So we have one group. And then we have a second group right here. And we have a third group. So this equals 3. We can test this by doing the math here. 2/1 times 3/2. We could cross simplify by dividing by 2. We know that equals 3/1, which equals 3. So, we could test our model by doing the steps for division. So here's 32. We know that this operation is division. We got to figure out our two fractions here. So we have 2 1/2 divided by 1/4. So how many of this blue piece fit up in the red? So we count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We know our answer is 10 after we do the model, but we can do the steps also. So we have 5/2 times 4/1. We could cross simplify to make our life easier. So we have 5/1 times 2/1, which is equal to 10/1. So we know that the answer for our model checks out with the steps. So 33, we have a multiplication model. So we have two fractions that we're multiplying here. So what we do is we take a look at our first fraction going across the bottom. This fraction going across the bottom here is 1/3. And then the fraction going down the side is what we're focusing on. That fraction right there is 1/4. And that's going to equal 1/12. We know that because the x is in one box out of 12 total boxes that were made. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me label these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So here's question 34. So we have what two fractions? So I have a fraction going across the bottom, which is 1/6. And then a fraction going down the side here. On the right side is 3/4. When we multiply these together, it gives us an answer of 3/24. So we know this because we have 3 boxes that have the x in it out of 24 total. So we count them 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24.